of the regular season. 41 games completed, 41 to go. The Bucks are 24-17 so far, thanks to having just won 4 in a row at home, and they're in 4th place in the Eastern Conference, behind Cleveland, Boston, and New York. Bucks forward Chris Middleton.
Yeah, with the up and down season that we've had so far, I think we'll take it, knowing that, we could be better in a lot of different areas. There's a lot of games I think we dropped that we thought we should have won, but to be 7 games over 500 with, all the highs and lows, I think we'll take it right now. Hopefully, we keep getting those wins up and getting a higher win percentage.
The Bucks on the road tomorrow night in New Orleans against the Pelicans. Tip-off time 7 o'clock. NFL, the Chicago Bears have a new head coach, 38-year-old Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. And the Ohio State Buckeyes, the new national champions of college football, after beating Notre Dame 34-23. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Mostly cloudy tonight, scattered flurries, temperatures rising up above 0 in the overnight. For tomorrow, a mostly cloudy day, still some flurries, not as cold, highs low 20s. Colder again for Thursday, mostly sunny and a high only in the mid-teens, but warming back up for the weekend. Right now, it's 0.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
when the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
The scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
I'll face a hurricane without meds. Now that's a tough pill to swallow.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
The Dom Salvia Show.
Brad Schimmel, a J6 sympathizer, and he wants to be your next Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice. When he was Attorney General of Wisconsin, he spent thousands of dollars on memorial coins.
I would have been fired.
That stood
if I'd
for
done that.
Kicking ass every day. Hey, if you got to get a coin that says it, you're probably not doing it.
With your face on it.
The Dom Salvia Show. Weekdays from 4 till 6 on the Civic Media Radio Network and on the Civic Media app.
Ooh, let's unplug from the politics and rock some local tunes on Max Inc. This week, we welcome Or Does It Explode and Chicago Blues Hall of Famer Paul Flipowitz.
Broadcasting live from the Civic Media Studios in Green Bay, this is Nite Lite with Pete Schwaba, your inside source on everything entertainment from Wisconsin to Hollywood.
Whatever gets you through the night, it's all right.
And now, a guy who likes to dine and dash, Pete Schwaba.
Let's do it. This night needs to be lit, and we are just the people to do it. Welcome to Nite Lite, ladies and gentlemen. My fellow Wisconsinites, we bring you Nite Lite, a show that is broadcasting live from downtown Green Bay and reaching you wherever you are in the state. We are broadcasting statewide. Great to have you with me on this ridiculously frigid, it's just, twice today I was asked, how cold is it there? And I said 0. It's no degrees. There are no degrees. That's how cold it is. And it was windy. Conrad, you're all bundled up tonight.
You like my little jacket that I brought in?
It looks like you should be collecting maple syrup.
It has fur inside it, too.
Look at that. And you have a sweatshirt on.
No, just a shirt.
Just a shirt. Is it a long
Otherwise,
sleeve?
I'd be too hot. No, okay. It's a T-shirt.
Oh, that's not too bad.
But I got fur on, so.
You're sporting the fur. Good for you. Yeah, great to have you. We got a really fun show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And let me just say at the top of the show, helping us light the night, what better way and what better assistance to light said night than with the help of a cigar company. Appleton Cigar Company on College Ave helps us light the night here at Nite Lite. They've been serving the community for over 25 years. If you are a cigar aficionado, or even if you just like cigars and you're looking for a one-of-a-kind experience, check out Appleton Cigar. They boast the largest selection of cigars north of Milwaukee with over 700 cigars to choose from and a walk-in humidor. Have you ever been in a walk-in humidor, Conrad?
I can't say I have.
You know what I like about them?
What's that?
You just walk right in. There's no leaning, no reaching. You walk right in. The Cigar Lounge offers an impressive variety of spirits and cocktails, which really enhances your experience because every cigar lounge I've been to did not have cocktails, believe it or not. But Appleton Cigar does. They pair that perfectly with a premium cigar for the full experience. Head down to Appleton Cigar at 415 College Avenue, Monday through Saturday, 11:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. For more information, go to appletoncigar.com. There is nothing better than a cigar company, folks, to help us light the night here at Nightlight. And they're doing that. We're glad to have them on board. So much going on. We've got some talk. There's a new book out called The Meet the Parents Story about the making of Meet the Parents, the live-action film. Full disclaimer or disclosure, however you want to say it, my former or sometimes still writing partner, Greg Liana, created the Meet the Parents franchise and had quite a journey in doing so. He got backstabbed a little bit, and it was there's a lot of drama behind this comedy. And there's a new book out by Laura Enright. And Laura and Greg will be joining me at 6:35 to talk about this really cool new book with some behind-the-scenes Hollywood stuff. That is my favorite stuff about show business. I mean, obviously, I love the content, the movies, the TV, music, comedy, everything. But there's nothing like a good behind-the-scenes story to whet your appetite for some good drama. And Laura and Greg will be here at 6:35 to discuss the Meet the Parents story. Get your copy, and we'll tell you where you can do that too. And then we're going to have some herb. Conrad, is it herb?
Herb.
Yeah, we're going to have some herb talk at 7:20 with Mason Hutchinson. He is an herbalist and has a podcast dedicated to herbs, and I think that's called Herb Rally. So Mason's coming into the studio, which I think is cool. Do you think he'll bring some herbs?
You know, it'd be hilarious, though, if his name was actually Herb.
Herb with herbs.
Yeah, I hope he brings some herbs, though.
Let's herb with herb.
Yeah.
You can only bring the legal kind, though.
Yes.
You can't bring any of that wacky tobacco. So I hope Mason knows that before he gets here. I'm not really a practitioner of such herbs anyway, but, you know, a lot of people are. And I would think if marijuana is ever legalized in Wisconsin, a guy who knows a lot about herbs would be the guy first in the door, maybe. I don't know. But it's all about community. He and his wife, they travel around. They're part of this herbal community, which I think is really interesting. And I got to be honest, I don't know much about herbs. I know I must eat them at times. You can take supplements, all kinds of stuff, but we're going to learn more about it. And I'm kind of excited to, because I'm always looking for ways to get more herbs in my body. To learn about something new that has a lot of health benefits and is good at promoting the community too. So it'll be good to meet Mason at 7:20. He's coming into the station, and he was introduced to us by J.B. Thompson, who is the guy behind the guy. J.B. has introduced us to several guests in the Northeast Wisconsin area, and he is the guy behind the guy. He just makes deals. There's no money being exchanged. We don't pay any guests, but we have them in. We have a nice conversation. That's what it's all about. Speaking of frigid cold, as we were just moments ago, you know, that leads us to our question of the night.
Talk about the question.
Okay, question.
Question.
Pregunta.
Question. Hey, I have a question. Questions? This question.
Domanda. Question.
Questions.
I love that gumanda. It's so cool. If you didn't have air conditioning or heat, would you take extreme heat or cold? What do you prefer? You got no choice, because you don't have air conditioning or heat, but you do have a choice. What do you opt for, extreme heat or extreme cold? Let's say extreme heat is like 90 degrees, maybe some humidity, even maybe 100, and extreme cold is like what it is now, 0. Are you closer to wanting extreme heat, closer to 100, or closer to 0 and extreme cold? You don't have heat or air conditioning. That is not an option.
Can I have a fan?
No cheats. You're just baking in your own juices, or you're shivering.
I think Lisa said this last time she was on. I forget what we were talking about, but she said you can always put on layers, but you can only take so many off.
That was a learned comment. Yeah, I guess so you would opt in favor of the cold then. Because you could bundle up. I guess there are no limit to clothes, but
blankets, everything you can imagine. Just maybe a mattress I'll put on top of myself too.
All right, so you're going cold. I'm going heat.
Really?
Yeah.
That's you can handle.
Let's do this. Let's say in cold you can have layers. In heat you can live by water and have drinking water. So you won't freeze to death. You'll still be very cold even with layers. Or in the heat, you can have temporary relief like in a lake and you won't dehydrate. You'll have water. So that's the question of the night, folks. Let us know where you stand. Most people either say they're more for the hot or more for the cold. Most of the people I know, I think, don't like heat.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a tough question, but I'm going to go heat. And you're cold.
Yeah. I think I'd still stay with, because I just put so many layers on where eventually I'll get warm. I hope.
Yeah. And you can't have a hot shower either.
Oh, no.
So that's what I got to be honest. There are days I take a really hot shower, but then like on nights like this, when it's cold and windy, even going from my car to the house, I can get a chill and I'll jump in the shower again just to warm up. I mean, I am a total wimp. And if there's an apocalypse, and I hope there is not, I think I'd migrate south. I think I would take heat. But let us know what you think. It's always more fun when we get to read what other people think. And people on this show, listeners of this show, often think outside the box, which I love. 855-752-4842. 855-75-CIVIC. Do you prefer the extreme heat or extreme cold? You have no heat or air conditioning. If you choose cold, you can bundle up. If you choose heat, you can have a lake nearby and drinking water so you don't dehydrate. But you're going to be uncomfortable either way. That's a good question. I'm interested to see what people think. So I don't know if you're aware of this, Conrad, but recently, that number, by the way, is 855-752-4842, or text us on the app. So easy to use. You know, just click the little text button. You get right through to us, or text us on the stream. And Conrad, I know people know where they can watch the radio, but tell them anyway.
Yeah, so we're on WISS, WGBW, and Nightlight with Pete Schwaba on Facebook. On YouTube, it's Civic Media or WGBW, and on Twitter, it is Civic Media or WGBW.
Boom.
Give us
know.
a like.
Yeah, give us a like, give us a follow, give us your opinion. We'd love to hear from you. This, I thought, I don't know if you're aware of this, but we've had a little fun with the Hawk-Tua girl over the not that kind of fun. We've talked about the Hawk-Tua girl several times. We did a little trailer for her reality show. It was never quite launched. Do you know she's disappeared?
Well, you know, I think it's because she launched that scam coin or whatever. Was it actually just called the Hawk-Tua coin?
It was. I guess so.
Who in their right mind would be like, you know what? Yeah, let's put some money into that.
I know. My first instinct was to say there's a sucker born every minute, but she has not been heard from in like 6 weeks. And this, I think I saw this on Business Insider. Initially, hitting the market capitalization of $500 million. And it was money. It was shock. It was like a money sign and then hawk. Quickly dropped to $25 million, resulting in significant financial losses for investors. The controversy escalated when some investors accused Brittany, what's her name? Welch, Haley Welch, and her team of insider trading, and filed complaints with the Securities and Exchange Commission. It was $500 million and dropped to $25 million. And a lot of people are saying she took the money and ran.
I could see it. I mean, so what would happen if we signed up for the membership? You think it's just like, oh, sorry.
I'll tell you what would happen. 2 words. We'd be out of our money. I don't. And again, like at first I was like, hey, buyer beware. But if you're that much of an idiot, first of all, why do you want a coin, a meme coin or whatever they're calling it? I don't understand why you'd put down your hard-earned money for this. And I have friends that have said, oh, she seems like a great girl. Okay, maybe she is. Maybe she's not behind this. Maybe the people that created her persona, so to speak, or branded her are the ones behind it. I don't know. It is a bad look, and she's probably done. She had a good run. I hope she pocketed the money, and I hope she didn't rip people off.
You know, I'm sad I don't get to listen to her podcast anymore. That was a
Talk
weekly
to
thing. Yeah, that was a weekly thing for me.
Well, the reality show's never hitting the airwaves now at this point either. So, all right, we've got we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Razzies are out. We'll see who really stunk it up at the box office this year. Then we're going to talk about the Meet the Parents story at 6:35. We got a lot to get to. It's Nightlight with Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network.
And it breaks my heart when a teardrop falls. I wanna cry, cry, cry alone. When you're feeling blue, I'm waiting just for you. Someone's living for love. Someone's living for love.
From Denmark to De Pere, this is 97.9 WGBW.
Appleton Cigar Company on College Avenue has been serving the community for over 25 years. If you are a cigar aficionado looking for a one-of-a-kind experience, you need to check out Appleton Cigar, which boasts the largest selection of cigars north of Milwaukee with over 706 cigars to choose from in a walk-in humidor. The Cigar Lounge offers an impressive variety of spirits and cocktails that pair perfectly with a premium cigar. For the full experience, come to Appleton Cigar at 415 College Ave, Monday through Saturday, 11:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. For more information, go to appletoncigar.com.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. In the first week of the new session of the Wisconsin State Legislature, Republicans fast-tracked a measure that would put a question on the ballot in the upcoming spring election that would enshrine voter ID in the state constitution. Two things on this. First, it is telling that Republicans made this their very first order of business. Senate Democratic leader Dianne Hesselbein responded to this saying it's not cost of living or health care or gun violence that Republicans wanted to focus on, but a constitutional amendment. Telling, isn't it? But that leads to the second piece. Republicans are clearly doing this for politically motivated reasons. By having this on the spring election ballot, they're betting it will make it more likely that people who showed up to vote for Donald Trump in November will be heading to the polls to help elect right-wing candidate Brad Schimmel to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. That election is on April 1st, so buckle up.
Find all of Dan's work at the Recombobulation area and on our website at civicmedia.us. The Todd Alba Show.
What's worse, fast drivers or slow drivers? Karina listening on WAUK in Milwaukee.
Slow drivers are the worst. They think too slow. They stop in the middle of the highway to think about where they're going. Maybe they need to turn left and right. They changing lines for oh my God, I can do all day long.
Karina,
yes,
can you tell us what you really think?
The Todd Alba Show.
I get so lost sometimes.
From the 920, Annie in Watertown says, we're at the point where no degrees is better than less than no degrees. That's very true, Annie. It's still hard to say. It's nothing. It's no degrees. How cold is it there? Nothing? None. We have no degrees. Annie says, extreme heat in all caps, please. I'm with you, Annie. Now, we are saying that when it's ridiculously cold right now. So maybe in the summer I feel differently, but I doubt it. Annie and I are aligned. Monica in Mount Horeb, she's in the 608, says, extreme heat. My hands hurt from the cold. Just dumping the trash in the bin today and wheeling it out to the curb. That is weird because your hand or parts of your body can get so cold it feels like they're hot. I don't think that's what Monica was saying there, but it just made me think of some of the sensations I've had when I've been really cold. It's like a sting. But Monica's also in favor of extreme heat. So Jim in Appleton says, Pete, words of someone who spent too many years living in SoCal. Yeah, maybe, Jim. I don't know. You're not really answering the question, though, either, Jim. I think Jim is probably would lean cold there since he's teasing me about living in Southern California, unless he meant himself. Maybe Jim lived in SoCal. I'm going to go heat. So far, we've had all heat. Steve from Florida says, Grandma Krieger agrees with you, Pete. Conrad's grandma agrees with me. Conrad, have you noticed your grandma and I are pretty much in cahoots on everything that comes up on this show?
I think so.
I think I have to meet this woman. Extreme heat, says Grandma Krieger. That's why I'm in Florida right now. That's a good reason. Jim in Appleton says, I still, even with the heat beating lake, prefer cold. All right. And Jim is saying that when it's 0 degrees, 0. It's nothing outside. So good for you, Jim. Stick to your principles. Paula, Conrad's mother, checking in, says, I much prefer being warmer. I got tired of bundling up every time I went outside. Most of the year, I can just wear a T-shirt and shorts. See, that's living.
So it's actually -4.
-4.
So that's not feels like -4. It is -4.
Actual.
It's actual -4.
So there are degrees in play.
But it's negative.
They're just on the wrong side of the 0. Not that it matters that much when we're down that low.
It feels like -13, though.
With the wind, yeah. I don't know, a lot of schools were canceled today
Yeah.
just because of cold, preemptively, like in anticipation of wind and kids that have to wait for buses, that kind of stuff. Steady Eddie's early tonight.
Yeah?
He planned ahead. He's in the 608. He says, Pete, I'll take Tucson over Fargo, heat over cold, although the movie was funny and warm. Steadfast Edward. Steady Eddie, a little shorter than usual tonight, a little earlier. Must have a hot date. He had to get out the door. Thank you, Steady Eddie. Always great to hear from you. Always great to hear from Jim, Conrad's parents, Annie, Monica, everybody. We love getting your texts. Keep them coming. You can also call us too, folks. We have multiple phone lines now. I don't think we're making as big a deal about that as we should, Conrad. We have more than one phone line, so you can call too. We welcome any kind of interaction. So the Razzies came out. These are the awards. I think they're given out by Harvard. They're the worst. They give out awards to the worst movies and the worst performances. They're called the Razzies. The Hollywood Reporter listed them earlier today. Leading the list, Joker 2, Folio Due. I think they had 9. I just read this. Where is that? Yeah. No, 7 nominations, including worst movie, performances. I mean, that's bad. People have fun with it, but that's got to be, if you're an actor, like if you're Lady Gaga or Joaquin Phoenix, that hurts. Or if you're, Todd Phillips is the director behind it. Borderlands. What?
That movie was so bad.
Did you see that movie?
It was so bad. I was excited for it. It's based on a video game, and it just didn't tell the story great. Kevin Hart was like trying to be funny in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh,
Not
that's
just
Kevin
natural.
Hart. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I forget who else was in it, but I didn't like it.
Okay. Neither did the people that vote on the Razzies.
Yeah.
Borderlands, Madam Web, Megalopolis.
Yeah, Madam Web was not good.
Is that the Dakota Johnson film?
Yeah, based in the
that she threw
Spider-Man.
everybody under the bus.
That's right. Yeah.
Megalopolis, that's Francis Ford Coppola's passion project, in which he put like $100 million of his own bucks into. But a lot of people said it wasn't as bad. Reagan also was up there. They all got 6 nominations apiece. Unfrosted, the Jerry Seinfeld film.
Really?
Yeah, got 4. Like, I didn't like that, but it was different and weird. Like,
yeah,
I wouldn't put it into worst of all time. It was just kind of like jokey.
Yeah.
And kind of different. So I think that's kind of cool. I don't know. I didn't like the movie that much, but that got 4 nominations, and The Crow got 2. So
okay,
there you go. I don't know.
I got an early nomination for next year.
Yeah.
Back in Action. I watched that over the weekend, and it's Cameron Diaz and why can't I think of his name? Hold on.
Cameron
Going to the
Diaz.
Google. Wow, Jamie Foxx. I don't know why I couldn't think of his name, but
I remember that movie. I didn't see it though.
It sucked. It was terrible. There was no, I don't know. It just wasn't a fun movie. You could predict everything, and
that's horrible.
There was no chemistry between Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz, even though they're husband and wife.
Wait, I don't know. What do you mean they're husband? Oh, in the movie they're husband and wife. Yeah. This says, among the actors receiving mentions were Joaquin Phoenix, Kate Blanchett, Lady Gaga, both from Folie Due, and John Voight, one of President Trump's newly appointed ambassadors to Hollywood, who was nominated for his performances in, in a near record 4 films. Oh, that's a bite. And before anybody judges, that's before these were voted on before anybody knew John Voight's ambassadorship to Hollywood. And you know what? A lot of these people are good actors. Joaquin Phoenix, good actor. John Voight is a great actor. He's he says weird things now in interviews, but he was a great actor, still is. Cate Blanchett, great actor, still nominated. All right. We'll look into this some more. There's a lot of, oh my God, worst picture. Actor Dennis Quaid for Reagan, Jerry Seinfeld for Unfrosted, Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh.
Jack Black, Dear Santa.
No.
Nominated for a Razzie.
No.
Actresses Cate Blanchett, Lady Gaga, Bryce Dallas Howard for Argyle, Dakota Johnson and Madam Web, and Jennifer Lopez. Jenny Lopez? Get out of here. Hey, when we come back, we're going to talk about a new book about the movie Meet the Parents. This is Pete Schwaba and Nite Lite. So great to have you with me on this Tuesday night on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Down along the avenue, some guys were shooting pool, and I heard the sound of acapella grooves. Singing late in the evening, and all the girls out on the suicide. Well, I learned to play some lead guitar. I was underage in this redneck bar. Stepped outside and smoked myself a J.
You're listening to the Talk of Green Bay, WGBW, home for Nite Lite with Pete Schwaba.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. A fiery rescue in sub-zero temperatures last night in Neenah. A Winnebago County deputy and a Neenah resident combined their efforts to help those involved in a crash on Gillingham Road just after 9:30 Monday night. The crash happened when a vehicle left the roadway, struck a fire hydrant, went down an embankment, struck a tree, spun violently, and landed on its side. A nearby resident, 30-year-old Tanner Ader of Neenah, heard the crash, saw the smoke, and heard the passenger scream for help. Ada rushed out with a fire extinguisher and helped the passenger out of the vehicle. Winnebago County Sheriff's deputy was the first law enforcement officer to arrive. The deputy and Ada helped get the driver out of the car as it became engulfed in flames. The driver and the passenger were taken to a nearby hospital for treatment. Of course, humans and pets, we all feel the effects of the bitter cold. But so do objects, especially those with moving parts, like cars. Brittany Merlot reports.
The electric components of your vehicle, including those that start it up, can struggle with these frigid temperatures. From oils thickening and moving slower to lower tire pressure. And mechanics in the area say that they get twice as many calls for dead batteries when the bitter cold hits. The average battery life is only 48 to 52 months. Experts suggest if it's struggling to start, crank the key for 10 to 15 seconds. After 2 attempts, if it still won't go, stores are stocked up on batteries this time of season. And if your car did start, be sure to let it run for a good 10 minutes, letting the coolant circulate so the vehicle runs smoother.
From local news to what's going on around the state, Civic Media's mission is to bring you real news and great conversation. I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News. For news anytime, log on to WGBW.FM.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Comedian Dave Chappelle has made a living being funny and controversial, which is tough to do. On last weekend's Saturday Night Live, the comedian said he was tired of being controversial. During his 4th time hosting the show, Chappelle wished new President Trump good luck, joked about the LA fires, and at one point said he was never invited to a Diddy party, adding that that is a hard way to find out you're ugly. He might be tired of being controversial, but it will be interesting to see if he can avoid those urges over the next 4 years. Awards season is heating up, even for the lesser-known award events. Saudi Arabia's Joy Awards took place over the weekend and had some serious star power in attendance. Morgan Freeman was honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award, which was presented by Anthony Hopkins. Matthew McConaughey was given the award for Best Personality, which is really impressive given that he makes the absolute worst commercials. For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nite Lite with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Mostly cloudy tonight, scattered flurries, temperatures rising up above zero in the overnight. For tomorrow, a mostly cloudy day, still some flurries, not as cold, highs low 20s. Colder again for Thursday, mostly sunny and a high only in the mid-teens, but warming back up for the weekend. Currently, it's 2 below.
I'm Dr. Jasmine Zapata, Chief Medical Officer for Community Health at the Wisconsin Department of Health Services. Every year in the U.S., about 21,000 lung cancer deaths are caused by radon, an odorless, tasteless, and colorless gas. 1 in 10 Wisconsin homes has high levels of radon. Does yours? Call 1-888-LOW-RADON or visit lowradon.org to learn more. Test, fix, save a life.
Sponsored by the Wisconsin Department of Health Services.
Mino and the Mayor.
He's negotiating with our paid sponsor here.
Sorry. That is true. Sorry. I forgot you were a paid sponsor.
Kristen Ambrose, Point Mortgage Corporation. How are you, Kristen?
I am good. How are you guys
Excellent.
doing?
Nice to see you.
I freaking love starting my mornings with you.
We love having you here. We really do.
Mino and the Mayor, weekday mornings 6 till 9 on 97.9 WGBW and 98.3 and 96.5 WISS and the Civic Media app. John Mino and Jim Schmidt.
On Wednesday's show, Michael Friedman from Simple Life Hospitality will give us an update on the NFL Draft.
And local artist Rob Momart.
Hi, this is Jenny Slate, and you are listening to Night Light with Pete Schwaba.
Gonna be some sweet sounds coming down on the night shift. I bet you're singing proud.
We're back. Great to have you with me on this Tuesday night, this frigid Tuesday night in the state of Wisconsin. We're broadcasting live from downtown Green Bay. Do we have, is Laura stream or phone?
She's on the phone.
Oh, she is. Laura, are you with us?
Yeah. Hi,
Hey,
Pete.
fantastic. We're trying to get Greg lined up. He thought it was next week, but I think he's going to join us in a few minutes with his buddy Jim Vincent, who worked on the original Meet the Parents, so it worked out very well. But it's great to have you. My guest is Laura Enright. She is an author of many books, but most recently, Meet the Parents Story, which, just to give some background to the listeners, Laura, Greg Liana was my writing partner and is my sometimes still writing partner. We sold some scripts to studios, and when I met Greg, he had just sold, or he had completed, I should say, an indie film called Meet the Parents that went over gangbusters. This great little independent film was purchased by Universal, and that's kind of around the time I met Greg and started writing with him. This live-action film with Ben Stiller and Robert De Niro was just about to hit theaters. And there's a lot of drama behind the scenes from step A to step B, from an independent film to getting it to the big screen in Hollywood. And Laura just wrote a book about all of that. And I'm thrilled to welcome her onto Night Light right now, author Laura Enright. Great to have you, Laura, and great to meet you.
Oh, great to be here. Thank you.
Laura joked in the email, Conrad, that we're not paying her, something like that, enough to be on the show. I said our budget doesn't really involve paying guests typically, much to our chagrin. But so thank you.
Slum. I decided to slum.
Don't worry about it. Thank you for slumming it with us. Do we have, is Greg, are you there? Hey, there he is.
I am. I thought this was radio.
This is radio.
I dress for radio.
That's okay. You got a great looking beard. You got a little goatee going. I like that. Good to have you. It's great to have you both here. Laura is on with us too, Greg. I just told the story kind of about how, a little bit of the thumbnail knowledge I have about what happened from just talking to you over the years. But let's start with Laura. Tell us about the book, The Meet the Parents Story. Greg, by the way, for those of you listening, created the Meet the Parents franchise. He made the independent film we were just talking about, and it eventually got to the big screen, spawned 2 sequels, was this humongous success. And that's the reason Greg wears very expensive clothes. Laura, tell us a little bit about the book.
It's really actually a fascinating story, and also it's a good insight into how that whole system works. From like you said, from A to B to C to D, and kind of what people have to go through to be creative, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? It's like there was some. Well, he and Mary Ruth were dealing with Universal, and Universal's been around for a long time, and they know how to craft a deal. So
can I just say, I
Yeah,
read
go
the
ahead,
book and I read the book and it made me depressed.
My job is done.
No, Laura did a great job of bringing it to life, but it's just depressing
Yeah.
to relive some of this stuff.
Let me just give an example of how I know exactly what Greg means, because that was good for you, Greg. I think, put some money in your pocket, got you some notoriety, but you were so depressed through the process that we were at a meeting, Laura, going in at the Zucker Brothers, couple Wisconsinites, and we're waiting in the waiting room, and the headline on Variety says, "Meet the Parents surpasses $100 million." 5 minutes later in the meeting, Greg says they ruined my movie. And all these Hollywood types, they have no idea what he's talking about. They're just like, all they see is $100 million.
I go, the hell with the money, they ruined my movie.
Wasn't Chevy Chase at that meeting? Or?
Yes, that was the time I rode up in the elevator with Chevy Chase, and that was kind of thrilling. And he kind of was ignoring us, but we were all waiting to go in, and then you held up the headline, and Chevy Chase all of a sudden kind of was talking to us then.
We existed, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But Greg, talk a little bit about why that was depressing for you, because it was such a rocky road from you selling the whole concept to getting it on the screen at Universal, and kind of how you were treated. Tell that story a little bit.
Well, I can't really complain, but just that we had such high hopes for our film. It did so well, got such great reviews. People really liked it. And just that we had to, sell it to get remade, and then we can't even show it now. So to me, it's just a kind of a depressing story, but
you also,
I think that's the heart of it. I think that's the heart of it. You guys wanted your movie out there. You wanted that distributed. And not that it wasn't a good thing in some respects the way it happened, but it's not your film. I think that's what's eating at you the most. It's like, it's not your film.
It may be interesting for you, the author. You have an interesting story, but to me, it's depressing because I lived it.
Well, yeah, no. And I get that. I mentioned that when we were speaking about it. It's like, yeah, I can see that completely.
Greg, when you read the book, did Laura kind of capture sort of exactly what you went through? Because there's part of this story that I feel like, and is the other writer taking your name off the script when he handed it in? Is that all in the book as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's all that. She did an amazing job of research, but because it's so detailed is why I was like, oh, I'm sad.
Some of the stuff you forgot, too.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, really?
I thought was funny. Like, I didn't know that happened. Yeah, it did.
So, Laura, how much research went into this book? Like, how long did it take to write?
It was a long time. I mean, I got to be honest. I was actually working a lot of hours at two jobs, so that was hard. That was part of the hard part. But I think, when did you come? It was to 2020, maybe. So it's been a number of years. Okay. And it's a matter of tracking people down, getting, arranging times for interviews and tracking the information down, a lot of it online, newspapers, things like that, watching the new movies and the like, what is it, the commentary, getting information from that. So, yeah, it was quite a while.
How did you guys meet? Like, Greg, how did you connect with Laura? Because, like, I know you wanted your story out there, rightfully so. How did this happen where you met the right exact person to do that?
Well, I'd known Laura from high school at Maine South, and I was a big fan of a couple of her books that she wrote that I read that I thought were great. These two vampire books. And, and she expressed an interest in telling the Meet the Parents story. So I was like, okay, and she just did an amazing job of research and went to town.
So, Laura, you wrote books about vampires and now a different kind of vampire. Hollywood studio system.
Studio vampires,
good material, yeah.
Was it hard to get interviews, like, with people that were in the know? Like, Greg, you and I, our agents kind of knew the story. And, just to let everybody know, the other writer on this, I mentioned we were writing partners, Greg. The other writer on Greg's Meet the Parents was a really talented writer named Mary Ruth Clark. Did you talk to Mary Ruth, Laura? Mm-hmm. I assume so.
No, yeah.
She talked to Jim Hertzfeld.
Yeah, I got an interview with Jim Hertzfeld, which actually surprised me. He was very forthcoming.
Okay.
that kind of threw me off because I was expecting it all to be a little more cagey.
Yeah.
Well, he won. Why would he be cagey?
Huh?
I said he won.
Yeah.
Why would he be cagey?
Because he's still got an image to protect. And some of the stuff he came out and said was basically like that, whole thing where he kind of campaigned to have you guys to make the Writers Guild think that it was a transcript you had submitted of the original movie and not a script written for Universal when Universal took you guys on. That's not a really good look for him. So I was surprised by that story.
So
did you get that, Pete?
Yeah, here's what happened. So Greg handed in a version of, he sold his movie to Universal. They hired him to do a script, right, Greg?
Two drafts.
And then he handed those in, and like happens so often, this happened to us with the Guy thing, Greg, they brought in other writers. Well, this other writer they brought in took Greg's name off the script. That's who we're talking about here, this Jim Hertzfeld. And he was campaigning behind the scenes to get Greg's name, was it taken off the script or just, I don't know.
Off screenplay by it.
Taken off.
Okay.
He was actually trying to get Hamburger's name off there too. Is it Hamburg? He was trying to get Hamburg's name off there as well.
The
it
other
would just
credited
be only
writer.
a Jim Hertzfeld joint.
Wow. And he copped to that in the interview? Like he admitted
He
that?
didn't cop to it. It was in the notes they gave me the notes from the Writers Guild when they were trying to figure out credit when they approached them. And in it stated that he was also trying to get John Hamburg off there.
I mean, could
of course,
you
it was
even
writer A, B, writer C, but I could figure it out.
Like he had already been paid to do the rewrite. He was going to be the main writer either way. Could you even imagine doing something like that, Greg? Like campaigning to have someone else's name who created the franchise have your name taken off the script? I can't believe
he was panicking when at the thought that Mary Ruth and I would have gotten screenplay because I get this is not in the book, I guess, because we couldn't verify it, but I do remember it. He was calling my agent at the time, Stu Fry, saying, Greg has got to take story by. I just bought a house. And,
I did look it up. He did buy a house around that time.
It happened.
I looked up the property
I didn't make it up. I was there.
Well,
probably.
Here's another variable to this story that I love. Okay, so Greg and I, we had this, I would say of the people that represented us around the time we sold a Guy thing, our favorite of our reps was our lawyer, Bob Wallerstein, who Greg said, I said, did you talk to Bob? He said, yeah. Bob also represented Robert De Niro, who was entitled to like 5% of the gross. So he had absolutely no motivation to go to bat for Greg.
Right.
Not that he wouldn't have.
Well, that explains some stuff.
Yeah, and Bob's a great guy, but I did think that was kind of funny. It's like everybody wants to make money off this piece of property, and they're sticking it to the guy who created the whole thing in the first place.
Well, you know what the real irony is that after it got to Nancy Tenenbaum, who was fighting to get the remake made, there were like, I think 4 or 5 years where Universal put it on a shelf and did very little with it. So it's like she had to really, really fight to make them understand that this could be a big movie. And then finally it's remade and everybody's okay. This is, I think Hertzfeld saw it too. And I think that's one reason he was all gangbusters to go after it, because I think he realized how big this movie could be too. So,
why
Universal seemed not to.
Was that ever given to you, Greg, as a reason like why it sat on the shelf? I remember you said the director Jay Roach is the one that, well, first Steven Soderbergh saw it and really wanted to make it, and that didn't happen. It sat on the shelf. Jay Roach had the juice, I guess, at the time to get it made. What did they ever give you a reason why they didn't make this? It's like the highest grossing live action film of all time or something.
Because it was a good idea, probably.
They're scared of good ideas.
Yeah, people would relate to it. It's funny, it's just all the things that
might actually work.
They don't need that.
It might actually be something.
That's so funny.
Hang on 1 second, you guys. I'll be right back.
Yeah, all right. So Laura, let's talk about what was your You know, we have to do a break, Laura. Then we come back. I want to find out kind of more about your process and how you got the book made, what it was like getting interviews. It fascinates me because I can't believe that this actually. I love that this book actually exists now after hearing these stories for years. So, Laura Enright is my guest. She's the author of the Meet the Parents story. Greg Liana is with us, too. He's the creator of Meet the Parents. We will be right back with more with these two talented people on Nightlight with Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network.
From Ashwaubenon to Alloway, this is 97.9 WGBW. Mino and the Mayor.
We're very pleased to have Nathan Olson here, Olson Legal Group, also the sponsor of Veteran Salute.
Welcome. And thanks. I want to start out with that whole thank you for your service because we really mean that, and you hear that. I appreciate that, and it's really sincere. And some people say, well, it gets a little bit overused. What else are you going to say?
You know, I really don't know what to say when people say that too, right? Because there is a selfless service aspect to it, but
you appreciate it.
Yeah, you very much.
Mino and the Mayor, weekday mornings 6 till 9 on WGBW and WISS and the Civic Media app. The Todd Alba Show.
What's worse, fast drivers or slow drivers? Karina listening on WAUK in Milwaukee.
Slow drivers are the worst. They think too slow. They stop in the middle of the highway to think about where they're going. Maybe they need to turn left and right. They changing lines for oh my God, I can do all day long.
Karina, can you tell us what you really think?
The Todd Alba Show. Weekdays noon till 2 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app.
Hi, I'm Samuel L. Jackson. When the UNCF, the United Negro College Fund, was founded 80 years ago, they hoped that they could change this nation for the better, and they have. As a proud alum of an HBCU, Morehouse College, I'm an advocate for HBCU. I support the work that UNCF does for students of color, scholarship, and internship for 50,000 deserving students each year. Visit uncf.org today, and remember, a mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Fear you may be missing out? We're always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app. Enjoy listening live or catch up by finding the podcast at civicmedia.us or wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts.
The first time seeing my son, I feel like my life did a 180. He really a definition of like why he loves somebody.
Through all the fatherhood's first, never.
Our question of the night is extreme heat or extreme cold? If you did not have heat or air conditioning, what would you opt for? Extreme heat or extreme cold? Joe from the 715 says extreme heat. Extreme heat is kicking extreme cold's ass tonight. Probably because it's 0 degrees outside right now. That might have something to do with it. Joining me right now on Nightlight, I'm very excited, is my one of my writing partners and good friend Greg Liana, former comedian and the author of the Meet the Parents story, Laura Enright. Laura wrote a book about Greg's experiences selling his independent film Meet the Parents to the studio and the journey he went on afterwards. Greg, what are you most... when you watch the new Meet the Parents, what do you miss the most about your film, and what are you okay with in regard to the changes they made?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm about to run out into the cold. You know, what they did was fine. There's gags that I thought were really funny that I can't believe they would take out. But, you know, they made a good movie. It's very successful. I don't want to sit here and nitpick, you know.
I was really hoping you would.
I'll do that.
I'm kidding.
I'll be happy to nitpick.
I'll say, let's do that. I'd love to hear what you have to say, Laura. I want to say that the guy in Greg's movie, which you can watch on YouTube, who played the father, to me, funnier than Robert De Niro. I know that sounds crazy, but more real. De Niro is kind of playing the tough guy De Niro, CIA, mob guy, and that's just was over the top. And Greg's movie was so real. They were real characters. There was real awkwardness. And that, to me, was the charm of the whole experience of meeting the parents. What do you think, Laura?
I agree. I thought the I loved the original movie. I didn't really laugh at the new movie. But part of that is me. But like you're saying, the father, the whole CIA thing, I thought was unnecessary. It's just too much, and that's the problem I had with the new movie. That everything was too much, and they even took the seeds of the jokes from Greg and Mary Ruth, and just went too far with them, and overloaded them, and the subtlety was gone. And I did not find Greg in the new movie very sympathetic or completely sympathetic.
Who was played by Ben Stiller.
Yeah, and I like Ben Stiller, but I just did not find him sympathetic.
Yeah. Laura, what did you learn writing this book? Like, you knew Greg from way back. You probably didn't know all the intricacies of this experience with Meet the Parents. What did you learn? What were you most shocked to learn writing this book, if anything?
I think how long the process can take. When I saw that a remake was going to be made, I'm like, oh, well, good for Greg. I'm sure there'll be something in it for him. And I think everyone instantly thinks that. But when you get to the part about the credits and how screenplay credit would have been so much better than story by credit, which is what he ended up getting in Mary Ruth.
Right.
And it's like, there's a lot of, I never realized how much shenanigans can go on. A lot of people think, oh, I'll take this to Hollywood, and they'll, no. I think he and Mary Ruth were both kind of screwed on that, and that surprised me.
There's just so much money to be made or at stake, and that just makes people crazy. And to me, I feel like once you do something as egregious as taking someone's name off a script, I feel like even though the movie's out, there should be grounds for legal action if people see fit. Has that ever been mentioned?
I didn't come across anything like that. I mean, I came across other issues that I know a lot of people are not very happy with the Writers Guild because they often don't seem to stand up for the people who are paying them the dues. Which in this case was also they didn't stand up very well for Greg and Mary Ruth. So I think a lot of people in Hollywood are not very happy with them.
That's really interesting you say that because I'm a member of the Writers Guild, obviously. I support them, but I have heard stories where they tend to sort of kowtow to bigger celebrities or, I think they can be pushed around based on, the circumstance.
I think in this case, Mary Ruth and Greg's status it wasn't well known enough. I really do believe that. I think it was very easy for them to just kind of bulldoze over them and say, no. Even with the arbitration.
Adapt somebody's book.
They had everything, and it's just like, boom, no, we're going to go with these two who have been in Hollywood for, longer.
Yeah, and I think, and not that I'm defending the studios, but I think they don't want to have to deal with these little nuisances like other writers who created it's just easier for them. So if they can sweep some of that under the rug, they're going to do it to make their own lives easier. Who did you interview, Laura, in addition to the other writers? Like who interested you the most when you were doing interviews for the book?
I thought Nancy Tenenbaum, the producer, was very fascinating. Her history with the business in itself, and also just some of the her efforts to get the movie made. I know Greg actually interviewed a guy, and I love the story, a guy named Clay Heery, who was a friend of Emo, and took the movie, Greg's original movie, from studio to studio to studio to see if somebody would be willing to buy it. And his story of his tale of his travels and that I just love. And he tells the story, which I think is fantastic, about he went to Universal. It was around the time that the Jurassic Park had been made. Universal, ironically, was interested, but they said to him, we have an idea. How about if when the couple go to the door to meet the parents, when the door opens, the parents are dinosaurs?
Come on.
And they're like, "Are you serious?" And he said,
He swears
he told
that's
Greg, "Yeah, that's actually what happened." Because, you got to, because, and I think that's part of the problem with Universal, too. They were getting movies that were so big that they didn't want to fart around with movies that weren't going to make them money, which
That's
is kind
so
of
great.
a problem with Hollywood now anyway.
Laura, can you stick around for a few minutes through the news? I want to ask you about another book you wrote, too. I don't know if we still have Greg or not, but we'll be right back with more with author Laura Enright and possibly Meet the Parents creator Greg Leano. This is Pete Schwaba and Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network.
I think they have me on. Yeah, this is mainly Laura's plugging the book in, which I totally forgot about. He's like, "Yeah, you're gonna be on the show." I'm like, "Jim is picking me up in 5 minutes." It's like, yeah, don't tell Laura. How do you live here? 1 degree. Hold on, as soon as I'm back, I'm gonna. You what? Just gotta say goodbye or something when they're on break right now, but I don't know if I'm still on.
Schwaba's not saying anything bad, huh?
No, why would he?
I'm Richard Cantu. On his first full day in office, President Trump was grilled about issuing 1,500 pardons to January 6 convicts.
These people have already served years in prison, and they've served them viciously. It's a disgusting prison. It's been horrible. It's inhumane. It's been a terrible, terrible thing.
Attorneys general from 22 states, Washington, D.C., and San Francisco are all suing the administration over Trump's executive order that will try to end birthright citizenship in the United States. Portland, Oregon police looking for the group of hooded and masked individuals who broke dozens of windows and painted anti-government graffiti on the county elections building before dawn on Monday. Ichiro Suzuki, CeCe Sabathia, and Billy Wagner have been elected to baseball's Hall of Fame. They'll be inducted July 27th, along with sluggers Dave Parker and the late Dick Allen. This is ABC News.
You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. The Lowering Costs, Improving Lives package of 3 bills presented by the Wisconsin Democrats last week seeks to lower the cost of housing, groceries, and prescription drugs for Wisconsinites. One bill would put caps on certain prescription drugs, such as insulin. Green Bay Representative Ahmad Rivera Wagner.
That you shouldn't be spending $200-300 a month on insulin, something that was actually happening to my mother, who was on, somewhat of a limited income. She was spending up to $300 on insulin. That's crazy. Which is absolutely wild, right? So
Rivera Wagner made his comments on Civic Media's Rational Revolution with Mark Becker. Find it at civicmedia.us. Legal challenges regarding bills signed into laws in the final day of former Governor Scott Walker's time in office will soon be heard by the state Supreme Court. Attorney General Josh Kaul is asking the court to rule on the so-called lame duck laws, which removed power from Governor Tony Evers and Attorney General Kaul and gave the Republican-controlled Joint Finance Committee more control over the filing of civil lawsuits and the distribution of settlement funding. A previous related ruling found the committee had been overstepping its authority. Governor Tony Evers will give the annual State of the State address tomorrow at 7. Tune in to WGBW for special coverage of the speech, the Republican legislative response, and analysis you won't find anywhere else. Join Civic Media's Todd Alba, political editor Dan Schaefer, members of the Civic Media News team, Game, and Up North News Radio's Pat Kreitlow for special live coverage of the 2025 State of the State Address. Special coverage begins just before 7 p.m. on WGBW and the Civic Media app. I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News. For news anytime, log on to WGBW.FM.
Badgers basketball tonight. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. Men's college basketball, the Wisconsin Badgers West Coast trip continues when they play at UCLA tonight. The Badgers now ranked 18th in the nation. Marquette now 10th ranked after losing to Xavier over the weekend. They're on the road tonight against Seton Hall. NFL, the Chicago Bears have hired Ben Johnson as their new head coach. The 38-year-old Johnson has been an assistant with the Lions for the past 6 seasons and has served as offensive coordinator there the past 3. And would the Packers trade for a veteran player on the backside of his career to help out with their pass rush? Packers GM Brian Gutekunst.
I don't particularly want to see somebody on the backside of their career. I don't think that's something I'd be particularly interested in. I mean, how old was Reggie White when Ron signed him? I mean, he was in his 30s, I believe, but he wasn't on the backside of his career by any means, So I think it just depends on the player and what you think he has in front of him.
Reggie White was 32 when they signed him. The Raiders' Max Crosby is 27. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
I'm Lisa Hale with WGBW News. Your news roundup in quick podcast form. You can find it anywhere at the WGBW website, WGBW.FM.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Mostly cloudy tonight, scattered flurries, temperatures rising up above zero in the overnight. For tomorrow, a mostly cloudy day, still some flurries, not as cold, highs low 20s. Colder again for Thursday, mostly sunny and a high only in the mid-teens, but warming back up for the weekend. Currently, it's 2 below.
Matt Nair on air.
Robotaxis made by Zoox are slated to hit the streets of California later on this year. Rides will initially be free for people who agree to test it out. You go first.
Have you ever wanted to drive in a 4-person casket with no driver?
My biggest sticking point about this is the name. Zoox is a cartoon character.
Yeah. Do you think when he just driving is going
Awooga.
Matt Nair on air. Weekdays 10 till noon on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app. The Todd Alba Show.
What's worse, fast drivers or slow drivers? Karina listening on WAUK in Milwaukee.
Slow drivers are the worst. They think too slow. They stop in the middle of the highway to think about where they're going. Maybe they need to turn left and right. They changing lines for oh my God, I can do all day long.
Karina, can you tell us what you really think?
The Todd Alba Show. Weekdays noon till 2 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app. Earl Ingram.
On the next show, we'll talk about the dangers of lead in the water with black and the campaign of lead-free water before talking.
Broadcasting live from the Civic Media Studios in Green Bay, this is Nite with Pete Schwaba, your inside source on everything entertainment from Wisconsin to Hollywood. And now, a guy who loves the sin but hates the sinner, Pete Schwaba.
Welcome back. We are broadcasting statewide here in the beautiful state of Wisconsin from beautiful downtown Green Bay on this frigid night. It is -1 out. That's the high. Daniel from Menasha, he's in the 920, says Nicolas Cage and Longlegs should get a Razzie. They should have just hired Emo Phillips in his place. Look at Daniel tying all the topics together tonight. We were talking about the Razzies before, and now we're talking about Meet the Parents, which the original was financed by Emo Phillips. And if Daniel didn't know that before sending that text, that's even more impressive. Annie from Watertown says, she's in the 920, says, former comedian, does that mean he's not funny anymore? Very funny, Annie. No, Greg is still very funny. He is not a traveling comedian anymore. He just writes movies. And finally, Tom in New Berlin says, it's grueling sometimes, but the extreme cold kills things that need to die, like box elder larvae. It's cleansing. The extreme cold is cleansing. That's a serious silver lining, Tom. Thank you for the text, and keep them coming. Extreme heat or extreme cold? What do you prefer? Right now, joining me here on the show is author Laura Enright. She wrote the book, The Meet the Parents Story, and I'm also, do we still have Greg?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, Greg is here. Greg Gliana.
I'm in the back of a car with Jim Vincent. We're about to go to a cigar store in beautiful Des Plaines.
Oh, you're in the Midwest, Greg. Okay.
Yeah, I am.
Nice. I know you
Don't
love
you
the
see him?
cold.
I'm wearing this heavy coat.
Say hi to Jim for me.
Jim, hi.
Jim was the producer of Greg's Meet the Parents. So we've got a whole big thing happening here. It's kind of fun. Greg, what do you did you ever explore legal action when it came to, what happened with you in regard to the script?
No, I probably should have, but no.
That's just what they're counting on, Greg.
I know.
Laura, how do you get people to see the book? How do you?
And by the way, Pete,
yeah,
Trump just pardoned Universal, so
from the Meet the Parents catastrophe. That's less egregious than some of the pardons. How do you guys get eyes on the book? How do you get people to find it? Even though it's about a famous movie, is it still hard to find buyers?
We'll go on your
you
show.
mean as far as like,
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. You mean like a publisher or the customers?
Customers. First of all, I'm sure it's tough to get a publisher, but maybe it wasn't because of the subject matter of this very popular movie. But also, how do you get people's eyes on the webpage where you can buy it? Or is that the job of the publisher?
Well, it's sort of what you're finding in publishing. It's more and more the job of the author, unless you're like Stephen King or something, and then
yeah,
they do it for them. But no, it's a matter of using social media and like doing shows like this, and this is writing is part of the work, and then the job of the business comes along with marketing.
Okay.
So. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it is. Greg, I know you're on your way to smoke a cigar. We light it up here every night. We just picked up a cigar sponsor, which I'm very excited for. But overall, when it comes to this experience, and maybe this book is like putting a bow tie on the whole process for you, but where do you stand? Are you angry, grateful, somewhere in the middle with the whole experience?
I will be grateful and happy when I can release my film. Until then, no.
And where does that stand, by the way?
The film is in my drawer. That's where we stand.
It's under Greg's tidy whities. Yeah. How do you get but you said people can see it on YouTube, right? The original Meet the Parents?
If you no longer on YouTube, but I think it's on something called the Wayback Machine.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah, you can. Yes, oh. You can. There's a way to see it if you dig through the internet, I think.
All right, if you get a chance.
Every so often somebody pops it on YouTube, and then you'll see in the comments, "Oh my gosh, okay. I forgot how funny this film was." But it's every so often you can catch it on, if somebody puts it up there.
Okay.
I should just put it back on YouTube. I had it on at one time. I took it off, but I wonder if I should just put it up again.
I mean, I've told people to find it there just because I think it's so funny. I mean, what's the worst they could do is just tell you to take it down?
Yeah.
Yeah. No harm, no foul, right?
Mm-hmm.
You guys, this has been fun. Laura, I wanted to ask you, you wrote another book called Chicago's Most Wanted, the top 10 book of murderous mobsters. Well, this is such a different book compared to that. What do you typically like to write about? Are you more like vampires, mobsters, or Hollywood?
All sorts. I mean, I like both. I like fiction and nonfiction. And I got into nonfiction with that book, in fact, hoping to get my foot in the door with publishing. And I just fell in love with the idea of researching and nonfiction. So I really do like writing both.
Well, another time I'll have to have you back. I'm kind of fascinated by the mafia, and we've had guests on the show before talking about the mob. So let's keep each other's contact info. I'd love to talk to you about that. And who doesn't like a little vampire talk from time to time? So.
Lots of vampires.
Yeah. Hey, guys, this was fun. Greg, great to connect as always. Jim, drive carefully, or ride safely, I should say. It's good to talk to you guys. And Laura, thank you so much. Nice to meet you, and thanks for your time. You guys all have a great night.
All right, bye.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye,
All right, you
Bye-bye.
too. See you later.
Bye, Grace.
All right, that's Greg Liana, Jim Vincent, and Laura Enright. That was interesting. So check out the book, The Meet the Parent Story. You can get it on Amazon, I saw, as well as a host of other websites. It should be a good read. And I've heard these stories all through the years. I'll probably still pick up the book and check it out. The text line, Tom from New Berlin says, cold. And I think he's choosing cold, not just saying it's cold outside. Yes, Tom. So Tom is only like one of 2 or 3 people that's picked cold so far. Everybody else is extreme heat. They're opting for extreme heat.
I think it's just a situation we're in right now,
Yeah, it could be. Another text from the 608 says, you can't live without some type of heat. You can cool with water. And that's what we said earlier in the show, 608. I don't know if you were listening. The options were you could have extreme cold with layers, blankets, what have you. And if you chose extreme heat, you could have a lake nearby. But still.
This was just for one day, right?
No, permanently.
Okay, maybe I'll change it to
one
it's
day.
permanent.
Yeah, I don't know. If it's permanent, I'd still have to go extreme heat. Okay, so we have a clip that is one of my favorite clips. It was Rainn Wilson's birthday yesterday. And this is just this is the Dwight character in a nutshell. He and Angela are dating on The Office. Angela asks Dwight, the farmer, who, to quote Michael Scott, said, I don't want to wake up in the morning and see you brushing your teeth with butter and clay. But Dwight goes to check on Angela's cat, and now he's filling her in on what he saw.
Hey, Dee.
Hey, Monkey, what's up?
Can you do me a little favor? Go to my place at lunch and give Sprinkles her medicine?
Sure.
I have to visit the alky.
Check to see if she's faking. If a car hit me, it wouldn't crack my pelvis. You know what? I bet she cracked it at home. Jumped in front of the car to get some workers' comp.
I wouldn't put it past her.
So what do you need me to do?
I wrote it out. There's a diabetes shot. Roll the insulin in your hands. Don't shake it. She gets an ACE inhibitor with her meal. You have to put her right in front of the dish or she won't see it because of the cataracts. Mix 1 capsule of omega fatty acid in with her kidney medicine. And you want to give that to her 15 minutes after she's eaten. And, there's a fungal cream because she has this infection under her tail. So you're going to have to lift her tail and put the cream right at the base of her tail. Hey.
Hey, Monkey.
Any problems?
Well, you left the TV on, and your cat is dead.
What?
Sparkles, the white one, is dead.
Sprinkles.
That was the sick one, right?
But I thought she had more time.
No.
Did she look? When you saw her, how was she looking?
Really dead.
But
Like just a dead cat. So, hey, come on. Don't be sad. Just, okay? She's in a better place.
all right.
Actually, the place that she's in is the freezer because of the odor.
He put her in the freezer, and then later she saw that the ice was ripped open and the cat was struggling to get out, like it wasn't quite dead. Dwight just wanted to end the suffering, and he used the excuse that he's a farmer. He wanted just to put her down. Oh God, that's one of my favorite Office scenes ever. The Hollywood Reporter put out the Razzies, as I mentioned before. Our question, by the way, just to reiterate, is what do you prefer, extreme heat or extreme cold? Let's say you did not have access to a heater or air conditioning. Would you take 90 and humid over 0 degrees? Or does 0 degrees sound not so bad? And the caveats we put in the question were you could have layers if it was extreme cold, or you could have a lake and some water to cool yourself and keep yourself hydrated if you chose hot. So let us know what you think. 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Text us on the app or on the stream, but just text us. We love reading your texts on the radio. In regard to the Razzies, Screen Combo, these are the great categories that I love in the Razzies. Any 2 obnoxious characters, but especially Jack Black. Was he in Borderlands?
Jack Black?
Yeah.
I don't believe so, no.
I don't know what that means then. Any 2 unfunny comedic actors on Frosted. Ooh. The entire cast of Megalopolis, Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga, Dennis Quaid and Penelope Ann Miller as Ronnie and Nancy.
Oh, yes, Jack Black was in it. Sorry.
Okay. Oh, well, that makes sense. So they must mean Kevin Hart and Jack Black, right?
I think so then.
Oh, God. That's like when they're going out of a way to design a category just to put two people they didn't like in it. Oh, it's this is the two obnoxious characters.
like I said before, it's just Kevin Hart trying to be funny in it. Like, it just never landed. I felt
Terrible. Yeah. And Reagan got really bad reviews, like totally panned, but audiences loved it, probably because they liked Ronald Reagan. Megalopolis, written by a Hollywood legend who put $100 million of his own money in, got panned. It's getting a Razzie. Like, if you're Francis Ford Coppola, you're probably like thinking, well, critics didn't like it. Hopefully it'll just fly under the radar. Nope, Razzie. When we come back, folks, after a very short break, Mason Hutchinson will be in the studio. He's an herbalist. And if you're like me, you want to know more about herbs. I want to know what an herbalist does. He's got a great podcast. They do real cool work with the community. And he's going to tell us a little bit about what they do. This is Pete Schwaba and Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Listening to the Talk of Green Bay, WGBW, home for the Todd Allball Show.
Hi, I'm Anthony Anderson. For the past 80 years, the United Negro College Fund has helped more than 500,000 students graduate from college and become leaders of our nation. Since its beginning in 1944, UNCF has made one truth known: a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Support UNCF as they continue supporting the dreams and hopes of 50,000 deserving students each year. Please visit uncf.org today. Happy 80th, UNCF.
The Dom Salvia Show.
Jack Smith's report. Maggie, prosecutors considered charging Trump with inciting insurrection, but didn't.
There's an old saying, if you shoot at the king, don't miss. If it's someone who's really powerful or really rich, I gotta be absolutely certain I can prove every charge beyond a reasonable doubt. When it's people that don't have means, then it's I'll throw every conceivable charge at you.
The Dom Salvia Show. Weekdays from 4 till 6 on the Civic Media Radio Network and on the Civic Media app. The Todd Allball Show.
What's worse, fast drivers or slow drivers? Karina listening on WAUK in Milwaukee.
Slow drivers are the worst. They think too slow. They stop in the middle of the highway to think about where they're going. Maybe they need to turn left and right. They changing lines for oh my God, I can do all day long.
Karina, can you tell us what you really think?
The Todd Allball Show. Weekdays noon till 2 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app.
It's easy to listen to your favorite local radio station anytime. Download the Civic Media app from the Apple or Google Play Store, then listen live or whenever you want from anywhere for free.
Out here in the middle of these acres, it can feel like you're the only person on Earth. That's how it feels when you're struggling with your mental health. But you don't have to feel alone. Find more information at Love Your
There's a problem with feathers, iron, bargain buildings, weights and pulleys. Feathers hit the ground before the weight can leave the air.
Got great text tonight on our question. Jack from Merrimack says, as a former professional lifeguard who's also climbed mountains, humble brag, Jack. I love it. Conrad, you ever climbed a mountain?
Yeah, those little like hills.
Not mounts, not mounds. Mountains.
Then I can't say that.
Jack's climbed mountains. That's pretty cool. As a former professional lifeguard who's also climbed mountains, I'd say cold is worse. I'm with you, Jack. He says, I was fine with days at a time in 90-plus degree heat with a cap and swimsuit. The cap. What year was this, Jack? I love it. But there were mountain conditions I've been in above zero where after a time, almost regardless of what you wore, you could die from hypothermia. Everybody is basically choosing heat. That's a great text. Thank you, Jack. Bridget from the 818 says, that was the strangest looking interview with Greg. My volume was turned down because I was talking on the phone to my son. I was only watching and he was walking in a house when it was dark in the car. Then a close-up of his ear. Wild. Is that so? And he's a director.
Yeah, I switched it off when I saw the ear.
Bridget got car sick. She says, extreme heat. I do not like to be cold. I'm with you, Bridget. And finally, from the 608, I thought that CBD would have cannabis. I think this is a question for our next guest, who I will introduce right now without further ado. Mason Hutchinson joins me now on Nightlight in the studio, which I always appreciate. He is the founder of herbrally.com, and you are an herbalist, correct?
Yeah, I would say I identify that way for sure. Although a lot of my peers, I would say, are a lot more, on the clinical side. But my whole life revolves around plants, herbalism, etc. So Herb Rally, what we are is we're a community hub for the herbal community.
Okay.
So really what we do is we're trying to promote this whole lifestyle as consuming herbs, having relationships with plants, and so on. So yeah.
When you say relationships with plants, you're not talking about anything weird.
Borderline sounds hippy dippy, if you will. But once you kind of start going out and, old growth forests, say I'm from Oregon, all right? So you guys are talking about like the cold out here. I'm acclimating to the weather out here, but I have a lot of, say, these quote unquote relationships with the plants because when you're going out there, and you guys were talking about hiking and everything. So once you're going out there and you're just like botanizing, you're spending time with the plants, you develop these relationships with them. You tend to you start to become fond of them. It's kind of a borderline spiritual experience in some ways. Depending on how you want to view that, but yeah, absolutely, you're developing these relationships with the plants, so to speak.
Very interesting. And is that how you would identify? And Jack from Merrimack was our mountain climber, so he might be able to relate to what you're saying. But is that how you identify what an herbalist is? Just someone who has a relationship with plants? I always I figured like in the research I've done, just like you get herbs, you put them in a bottle, and you use them for cooking.
Yeah.
But you're saying it's more people that have a relationship with nature or plant life?
It's very much a broad term. You're right. There's so many different ways to be an herbalist. And for the longest time, I was very shy about calling myself an herbalist because I was like, oh, well, I'm not seeing clients. I'm not helping them with their health issues. But I'm the type of herbalist that is helping spread the good word as far as like creating this community around herbalism and so on. So yeah, there's lots of different ways to be an herbalist. You could be a chef, you could be a forager, you could be a purveyor of organic herbs and spices, that kind of thing. So yeah, lots of different ways you could identify as an herbalist.
So for the layman like myself, you say I'm an herbalist. And I say, what does that mean? And I know you kind of described it. You gave us the more intricate version of what that is. But in a nutshell, like how do you want to be perceived by people when you say I'm an herbalist?
It's funny because you were talking about CBD and cannabis. And a lot of times when you say, oh, I'm into herbs, I'm into herbalism, a lot of times people think you're referring to
weed
cannabis.
dealer.
Exactly. Which, we're more referring to anyone who's using these plants in a medicinal way, to promote health and wellness in their lifestyle. I think it's a very inclusive term. Some people might, want to be more like, oh, you have to be this certain type of herbalist, be an herbalist. But my philosophy is anyone who's using plants in their daily life is going to be considered an herbalist.
Using plants, so if you have plants in your home, let's say you have, my mom has tons of flowers. She comes from I think they owned greenhouses in Ohio when she was a kid, but are they herbalists, or is it someone who has plants in your house? Are they herbalists?
Yeah, I mean, right. Like, so then you got the differentiation between house plants, and then you got say rosemary and thyme and oregano and all that stuff. But I really think that if you're using plants in your body, around your house, all of the above, that's gonna, and then you want to identify as an herbalist, I would say you're an herbalist.
What if I have a lot of plants in my house and I like them, but I feel like they're out to get me and they're bad-mouthing me constantly behind my back? What does that make me?
Is this happening to you?
All right. So tell us, is this how you make your living, Mason, more or less, just in the herb community?
Yeah. So exactly. So in 2015, I started a website. You know how there's websites dedicated to letting you know about what musical events are happening around the country or in your state?
Sure.
I wanted that for the herbal community. I wanted to know about the plant walks. Have you ever been on a plant walk before, Pete?
Not probably to the degree you're talking about, but I've been through nature walks and what do they call botanical gardens and stuff like that.
Yes. Super fun. So what I wanted to do was create a resource for not just the herbal community, but people in general, where they wanted to go find what type of herbalism events, plant walks, plant talks, etc. were happening at their local public library, the different conferences, etc. And I wanted to create a vast, large list organized by state. And so I did this way back in 2015. But to answer your question, over time, it evolved into an actual business.
Wow.
And yes, it is technically my full-time gig now. As I was telling you pre-show, I also work part-time with the Appleton Cigar Company as well. But yeah, it's for all intents and purposes. My wife and I, we met at a place called Mountain Rose Herbs in Oregon. She was photographer. I was in marketing. And then over time, we both built this business on the side, and we were able to eventually quit our jobs and move out here.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by people that find a passion and create a career.
Isn't that crazy? The
It
world we
really
live in,
is.
yeah.
It's inspirational. It's like it should tell people that, whatever you want to do, go make it happen. If you love something, throw yourself into it, maybe as a hobby at first. And maybe you'll meet a great girl and move to another state and freeze your butt off. All right, Mason Hutchinson is my guest. He's an herbalist, and we're going to talk more about that when we come back, and we'll talk about his podcast. I'm going to read some more of your text. Extreme heat or extreme cold, folks. Where are you going with that? I'm extreme heat. Conrad's back and forth.
And I change my mind once it's, forever.
We'll ask Mason what he thinks when we come back to.
Yeah.
Mason Hutchinson is here from herbrally.com. We'll talk more with him. We'll read your texts, and we'll have a wonderful time staying warm indoors. This is Nightlight with Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Goes to show you never can tell. They had a high five for a boy, and they let him blind. 700 little
We're listening to the Talk of Green Bay, WGBW, home for Matt and Air on Air.
Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. A fiery rescue in sub-zero temperatures last night in Neenah. A Winnebago County deputy and a Neenah resident combined their efforts to help those involved in a crash on Gillingham Road just after 9:30 Monday night. The crash happened when a vehicle left the roadway, struck a fire hydrant, went down an embankment, struck a tree, spun violently, and landed on its side. A nearby resident, 30-year-old Tanner Ader of Neenah, heard the crash, saw the smoke, and heard the passenger scream for help. Ader rushed out with a fire extinguisher and helped the passenger out of the vehicle. Winnebago County Sheriff's deputy was the first law enforcement officer to arrive. The deputy and Ader helped get the driver out of the car as it became engulfed in flames. The driver and the passenger were taken to a nearby hospital for treatment. Of course, humans and pets, we all feel the effects of the bitter cold, but so do objects, especially those with moving parts, like cars. Brittany Merlot reports.
The electric components of your vehicle, including those that start it up, can struggle with these frigid temperatures. From oils thickening and moving slower to lower tire pressure. And mechanics in the area say that they get twice as many calls for dead batteries when the bitter cold hits. The average battery life is only 48 to 52 months. Experts suggest if it's struggling to start, crank the key for 10 to 15 seconds. After 2 attempts, if it still won't go, stores are stocked up on batteries this time of season. And if your car did start, be sure to let it run for a good 10 minutes, letting the coolant circulate so the vehicle runs smoother.
From local news to what's going on around the state, Civic Media's mission is to bring you real news and great conversation. I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News. For news anytime, log on to WGBW.FM.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Well, it's a slow holiday weekend at the box office when a movie that was released 5 weeks ago is number 1. Mufasa, The Lion King, has been ranked 1 or 2 since its release on December 20th. And this past weekend, the film brought in almost $12,000 to lead the way at the domestic box office. Mufasa barely edged out the number 2 film over the weekend, Sony Pictures' One of Them Days, which reviewed incredibly well and brought in $11.6 million last weekend. The comedy about 2 girls trying to make rent, starring Keke Palmer and and SZA is a surprise hit. Wolfman finished in third place in its opening weekend with just under 11 million and mediocre reviews. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 actually moved up a spot from number 5 last week to finish in fourth with about $8.5 million bucks, and it was Den of Thieves 2, which opened at number 1 last week, but had a huge drop-off and finished with about $6.5 million. For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Mostly cloudy tonight, scattered flurries, temperatures rising up above zero in the overnight. For tomorrow, a mostly cloudy day, still some flurries, not as cold, highs low 20s. Colder again for Thursday, mostly sunny and a high only in the mid-teens, but warming back up for the weekend. Currently, it's 2 below.
Hi, I'm Michael Friedman, CEO of Simple Life Hospitality. Let us take the hassle out of vacation rental property management. We'll maximize your earnings and handle every detail from cleaning to maintenance and repairs. For guests, enjoy a stay that feels like home with hand-selected properties, personal touches like local recommendations, and extras like concierge service that will make your trip unforgettable. Whether you're a homeowner or a traveler, experience the Simple Life. Visit simpleliferentals.com.
Mino and the Mayor.
Landon Jones, his commercial is a semifinalist for Doritos and could air during the Super Bowl.
I was sitting on the couch, I was eating some Doritos, I just had one in my hand, I was looking at it. Well, what if my hand got bigger? And then I was like, okay, well, what would happen if I ate it? Okay, the head would get bigger. And then, I kind of went down the rabbit hole.
I wonder if it would work there.
Mino and the Mayor, weekday morning 6 till 9 on WGBW and WISS and the Civic Media app. Jane Matnair and Greg Bach.
Coming up on the show, some bipartisan agreement in the Wisconsin legislature.
The studio where it is toasty warm here at Nightlight. My guest is Mason Hutchinson. Our question tonight is extreme hot or extreme cold? Most people are opting for hot. Daniel from Menasha says 100% love cold. I hate heat and humidity. As a child trying to sleep in a tent with high humidity on a warm night, I prayed for a bear attack. Wow, there's a lot to unpack in that statement. As a child sleeping in a tent with high humidity. You're a camper, though, probably, Mason.
Oh, yeah.
You probably relate to that.
For sure, yeah. No, it's been fun to find different nature spots out here in Wisconsin. My wife is from Wisconsin, and I think that maybe she took it for granted and didn't really know all of the nature spots out here. But when she moved to Oregon, she was a massive hiker and camper and so on. And now that we moved back here, she gets to see Wisconsin through some fresh eyes. And we're finding all these different gems. So, yeah, I would love to do some more this summer for sure.
So she's from Algoma?
Yep, Algoma.
That's a gorgeous little town right on the lake. I mean, so you're not from here?
No, I'm from a place
Oregon.
called Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So how has that transition been? I mean, you probably have, I don't mean to stereotype, but like the granola thing is
100%.
Synonymous with Oregon.
I mean, just look at me.
They got a chill vibe, and I love the look. But there's a lot of that in Wisconsin, maybe not to the degree in Oregon, but do you find like any similarities between here and Oregon, or do you feel at home here now?
Yeah, I mean, we were originally going to move to Green Bay, actually, and then we just kind of stumbled upon Appleton because of the Mile of Music, and we just kind of fell in love with Appleton.
Yeah.
But, I mean, my family started getting annoyed of me, I think, at how much I just bragged about Wisconsin and Appleton, and I kept talking about how much I love it here. It's like the people. There's a strong sense of history and culture here. I actually will attend some of the Appleton Historical Society meetings on occasion, but I absolutely fell in love with Wisconsin culture, and I just, I think growing up my entire life in Eugene, Oregon, it was nice change of pace. It's definitely different. The weather's definitely different, but I absolutely adore Wisconsin.
That's a really good that's a very diplomatic
and
answer.
I'm not just saying that.
No, I know.
'cause I'm on the radio.
No, but I'm sitting here with you, and I can sense your genuineness.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, Joe Bardetti, years ago, he's from Boston. We did stand-up in Chicago together, and I said, what do you like better? And his answer, and I thought this was brilliant, he goes, I like the city of Boston better, and just as people are getting their rancor up, he says, but I like the people of Chicago better. Okay. So then you have to go, oh, all right, well, thanks.
Hey.
You can't go wrong. And you're right. People in Wisconsin, like I've lived in 3 different places. I live here now. I've lived here for over 10 years. It's a very easy place to live.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think any one place necessarily is better than another because I think people are the same pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
But you're not going to meet, by and large, rude people in Wisconsin for the most part, and it's pretty cheap to live. I would imagine cheaper than Oregon.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the house that we got is very equivalent in Appleton to our house in Eugene, and it was probably 3 times the price in Eugene. So,
wow.
Yeah, definitely at least housing costs cheaper.
So, all right, so back to herbs.
Sure.
And plant life for that matter, is part of the reason you came here because you felt that could be exploited here? Like, hey, there's not as much of this going on in Wisconsin. Let's go there and start a business. Or was it just because your wife is from here?
That is a really interesting question. No, it's you're right though. So there's like an herbalist on every street corner in my hometown. Yeah. And but moving out here was actually I'm already very intertwined in the herbal community. So I knew there was herbalism out here, but when I came out here, I realized, oh, there's even more than I anticipated. Our business is all online, so it doesn't actually matter where we live at all.
Okay.
So yeah, it was strictly my wife is who's also co-owner of Herb Rally. She's the photographer and creative, but we wanted to be closer to her family and friends, and just kind of, and the cost of living doesn't hurt either. But,
no,
yeah.
that's the price you pay. It's the offset to the cold is the cost of living, but this hasn't been that bad. You've been here a while. The
That's
winters
all I've
haven't
heard
been
is
horrible.
it's just the cold is it's not that bad.
It's not that bad, yeah.
Today was -5 degrees, and I ran outside with no shirt on to take the recycling out to the. And my wife thought I was crazy, but I mean, it's like, yeah, you get used to you acclimate so fast. So
for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so tell us if people want to explore Herb Rally, they go to herbrally.com. Yep. What can they find there? What brings people to that website typically? Are they looking to buy plants, herbs, learn more about herbs? Tell us what's there.
Yeah, so I'd say the primary thing is, and the good thing is there's a lot of event listings in Wisconsin because, again, this is a very robust community here in Wisconsin. But if people are wanting to find herbalism events, as we say, in your neck of the woods, you could go to herbrally.com/events. They could go on a plant walk. They could find out what's happening near them. That's number one. Number two is we have a lot of monographs. So a monograph is basically a long write-up on one particular plant. So if people want to learn, say, about burdock or dandelion or nettles, they could go to herbrally.com/monographs, and they could just click on these different well-written, lengthy plant monographs and learn all about the plants. And I'd say third, I'm kind of going in order of how Herb Rally was created too. We then added the podcast and the YouTube channel, and we have over 800 episodes of the podcast. There's interviews, there's full-on classes, anywhere up to 3 hours long, lectures, etc., from different conferences. So yeah, you're going to have so much free information on the YouTube channel and the podcast as well.
Does being in this line of work make you more chill? It seems like, honestly, it seems like if you're surrounded by plants and you're reading about plants, I'm just more relaxed talking to you about that. Whereas most of my life, I want to strangle a complete stranger at video poker who I've never met.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, this seems like a very good for the soul kind of work line.
Yeah. Thank you for noticing. And so I used to work at a company called Mountain Rose Herbs. Shout out Mountain Rose Herbs back in Eugene, Oregon. And I got into this whole line of work because, and I say the Mountain Rose Herbs thing because I never want to make a medicinal claim. I never want to tell people, say, this is going to cure that, because it's irresponsible to do that. But plants have definitely helped me along the way. When I was first growing up, man, I had so many mental health issues. And one of the ways that I got out of that, so I'm saying this isn't for everybody, but diet, lifestyle, and herbs have all helped me with my mental state. So yeah, I would say maybe over the course of 40 years now, it's chilled me out quite a bit.
That long you've been in this racket?
Well, yeah, I exaggerate. I'm 40 years old as of October. I've been involved in the herbal world since I was about 20 years old. So
okay, so we're not going back prenatal. This
no.
is strict, okay.
No, I don't think my biological mother was taking herbs.
Do most people think when you talk about herbs that there is weed involved or cannabis and stuff like that?
100%. And I mean, I don't know what civic media stance is. I think there's a time and place for cannabis.
Yeah.
I don't partake anymore. It's not really my passion, but certainly there's medicinal uses for cannabis. But no, it's definitely not my area of expertise or passion.
I'm trying to get more like healthy, holistic, whatever you want to call it. I haven't had a drink in a couple of years, not because I had a problem. My wife says I did, but But I just, I wanted to try being more, chemical free, I guess.
Yeah.
What are some of the health benefits? Like, what could you tell listeners right now that's just an easy way to make yourself more healthy when it comes to herbs?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. Okay.
Lay it on me.
So there's a remedy. It's called a nourishing herbal infusion. And basically all that is a very strong tea. And what you're doing is you're making a strong herbal tea out of a very nourishing plants. So we're not doing the difference between poison and medicine is dosage, as they say. So we're sticking very closely on the food side of herbs. We're not talking about the very potent medicinal side of things. We're talking about we're using plants in these strong nourishing herbal infusions with strictly food type herbs. So we got nettles, oat straw, violet leaf, dandelion leaf, and the list goes on and on. I could talk all day about this, but really all you're doing it, mason jars, I'm aptly named. So mason canning jars, you take about a quart mason jar and then you put an ounce of very nourishing herb in there, dried herb, not fresh herb. You want it to be dried herb. So you got your mason jar, put your herb in there, about an ounce, and then you pour boiling hot water over it. Make sure your jar is not totally cold because you don't want it to crack and break.
Right.
But then what you do is you let it steep 4 to 8 hours. Typically, I make my nourishing.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very strong, potent, not medicinally, but very nourishing. What we're doing is we're withdrawing all the minerals is the main thing that we're going for, because most Americans were deficient in all sorts of minerals, magnesium, calcium, all the above. And we need these for our bodies to properly function. So yeah, I would say start with some sort of very simple, basic nourishing herbal infusion. We have a whole 3.5 hour free class on our YouTube channel that teaches you all about how to do this, all the different plants that you might want to use in these nourishing herbal infusions. And I can't say it enough, because as Americans, we're so deficient in these minerals and vitamins, and it's just an easy and cheap. It's a very frugal way to get these nutrients into our bodies.
You know where you might lose people is the 4 to 8 hours. I hate to say that, but people I don't know if they're that patient. Like,
okay,
is this something you sell and people can just buy it from you?
Yeah, so a simple hack. We don't sell herbs at Herb Rally, but I'll give you a few different resources. But the hack around the 4 to 8 hours, this is what I do before I go to bed at, say, 9 p.m. I'll just make it at night, and then in the morning I'll strain it out.
Nice.
So boom, you got your nourishing herbal infusion all day. I would, as far as like purveyors of herbs, Mountain Rose Herbs, like I mentioned before, who I worked for, that's a solid choice. There's a lot. Let's see, Oshala Farm, we partner with them a lot. They're also based in Oregon. But yeah, lots of different purveyors of herbs that you could buy dried herbs from.
That's so great. My guest is Mason Hutchinson. He is one of the founders, along with his wife, at herbrally.com. Check him out and learn the benefits of herbs, not herbs, Conrad. We're not talking about herbs.
I figured that now.
Herbs are useless when it comes to this conversation. I don't want to offend anybody, but I'm just saying. Checking in on the stream, JB says Mason is keeping it weird at an amazing and awesome
JB.
level. Why does he say that? Like, I like JB, but you're not weird.
Okay.
Is it the beard?
It's kind of an inside joke. So shout out JB. One time he was just joking with me in the Appleton cigar. I don't even remember what he said, but I just look at him and I go, JB, you are so weird. And then now it's just an inside joke.
Become a thing.
We're both weird, and that's why we love each other.
Hey, speaking of Appleton Cigar, helping us light the night here at Nightlight every night now is the Appleton Cigar Company. They're on board as a sponsor. It's so great. They're at College Avenue, and they've been serving the community for over 25 years, Conrad.
That's pretty good.
You were prenatal when they started.
I was 0 years old.
Your mom couldn't even smoke a cigar, though, then, because she was pregnant with you. Or maybe she could have. You don't inhale that stuff, do you? Yeah, no. You need to check out Appleton Cigar, which boasts the largest selection of cigars north of Milwaukee. They have over 700 cigars to choose from, and a walk-in humidor. You know what I like about a walk-in humidor?
What's that?
You just walk right in.
That's right.
There's no leaning or reaching or step ladders. The Cigar Lounge offers an impressive variety of spirits and cocktails that pair perfectly with a premium cigar. For the full experience, come to Appleton Cigar at 415 College Ave, Monday through Saturday, 11:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. For more information, go to appletoncigar.com. And I smelled it on you. You came right. Oh, no, you came from Prohibition.
Prohibition, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's like a block over there.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That's a good smell, though. I like a good cigar smell. From the 608, Nick says, "Hey, Pete and Conrad. Nick from Marshall here. Hot weather is worse to me because it makes my chronic migraines much worse. Didn't factor that in. People react differently to the weather. Cold weather and snow doesn't help either, but it's still better than the heat. Hope you guys are staying warm." We are, Nick. Thank you. And thanks for the text. Tom from New Berlin says, "Great guest. What is his feel on cold?" I was going to ask you this.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going extreme hot versus extreme cold, I'm going to say extreme cold all day long.
Yeah, why is that?
For sure.
Is it herb related?
No,
or just a general.
It's not herb related. I almost want to say maybe it's my heritage. Maybe because I'm like Scottish Irish. Maybe I'm more acclimated. Just
you want the damp, cold.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah. You got fair skin. I see. I have fair skin.
Yeah, ish. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
That's why. And I chose hot, and I have like a pinkish hue.
Although my favorite city besides Appleton, and Eugene is New Orleans, and obviously it's it's snowing there right now, but yeah,
typically very sweaty.
Yeah, exactly.
Daniel from Manassas says 100% love the cold. I hate heat and humidity as it. Oh, I already read that. Sorry. Jim from Appleton says, "Ask the temperature question in August after a stretch of 90-degree days with 75% humidity. I'm sure the answers will change." We'll have to remember that. Conrad, take a memo.
Sounds
Let's
good.
do that. Let's
Sounds
ask
good.
that question again. All right, we'll have a few more minutes here with our guest at Mason Hutchinson from herbrally.com. Check it out. They also have a podcast. I'll ask you about that when we come back because there's lots to learn there, and it sounds pretty cool. This is Pete Schwaba and Nightlight. We're coming right back on the Civic Media Radio Network.
The talk of Green Bay, WGBW.
Appleton Cigar Company on College Avenue has been serving the community for over 25 years. If you are a cigar aficionado looking for a one-of-a-kind experience, you need to check out Appleton Cigar, which boasts the largest selection of cigars north of Milwaukee with over 706 cigars to choose from in a walk-in humidor. The Cigar Lounge offers an impressive variety of spirits and cocktails that pair perfectly with a premium cigar. For the full experience, come to Appleton Cigar at 415 College Ave, Monday through Saturday, 11:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. For more information, go to appletoncigar.com.
In the market for a home loan? It's time to meet Kristen Ambos, the top 1% of loan originators in the U.S. and the #1 female loan officer in Wisconsin for 2 years running. With over 20 years experience, Kristen and Point Mortgage Corporation are here to serve all of your lending needs, from conventional to FHA, USDA, and VA loans. Plus, with their rate match guarantee, if they can't beat your pre-approved rate, they'll pay you $500. Call Kristen Ambos today at 920-606-1156 and let her and Point Mortgage make your home ownership dreams come true.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. On Monday, January 20th, Donald Trump returned to office, sworn in as the 47th President of the United States. Right out of the gate, he took a number of actions on his top issue, immigration. Perhaps the most troubling of these is one aiming to end birthright citizenship in America. An immigration attorney I talked to told me, "We're going to sit through a lot of BS over the course of the next weeks, months, and years, but this is the big one." My take? This action from the Trump administration is despicable, unconstitutional, and fundamentally anti-American. The day after the order was issued, Governor Tony Evers and Attorney General Josh Kaul joined a coalition of 20 states challenging this action in court. This legal battle will be a tremendously important one for all of us to follow.
Find all of Dan's work at the
Tomorrow night on Nightlight, I welcome Madison-based film and entertainment critic Rob Thomas. He'll be here at 6:35. He also is the CityCast Madison newsletter editor. Rob is always fun to talk to. We'll talk award shows, what's in the theaters. Always fun to talk to Rob. And then Skip Paris will join me at 7:20. He was the guy in the booth with Bob Uecker in the Major League movies. Skip is a Chicago-based comedian and one of the first comics I saw when I thought about doing stand-up comedy. And Skip is a really good guy. Very excited to have him on the show. That's tomorrow night on Nightlight. Right now, we have a few more minutes with our current guest, Mason Hutchinson. He's an herbalist and founder of herbrally.com. Tell us about your podcast. You guys you said you had 800 episodes. That's a lot.
Yeah. So Herb Rally started in 2015, started the podcast in 2017. And basically what it was I was reaching out to different herbalists that I knew, and I would essentially ask them, sometimes I'd even pay them to create lessons and record these hour-long lessons, and then I would just upload it, and that would be the episode. Over time, we added different interview series, and there's lots of different series within the Herb Rally podcast. And about 2 years ago, I finally mustered up the courage to create my own show on my podcast stream. It's called The Herbalist Hour. And so now what I do is we'll travel around the country, or sometimes they're done via Zoom. And I'll actually be the host. So I'm playing the Pete role, and it's super fun. I was so intimidated by it. I was like, how do I do this? But you just get into a groove, and it's
just start yakking.
It ended up becoming my favorite part about Herb Rally. So yeah, there's a mixture of interviews and lessons and so forth. So
very cool.
Yeah,
you have something on your website called the Frugal Herbalist.
Yeah, it's called The Art of Frugal Nutrition, which is essentially we call it an ongoing building course where we're trying to teach people how to eat healthy on a budget.
I absolutely love that, because I don't, poor people in this country tend to eat the worst. And I don't know if they know that food is available to them that isn't really all that expensive and they can eat healthier. Oftentimes it's just an educative thing, but can people, how is it expensive? Like, let's say they wanted more herbs in their life and they wanted to develop a healthier lifestyle based on what you're talking about. Can they do that? Is it conducive to lower income people?
There's so many different things that you can do, and absolutely. Wow. I would say the first thing, which is what nobody does, and this is almost not even as peripherally related, but keep a spending journal. Like, keep track of what you're spending in your life in general and at the grocery store, and then make a game out of it. Try to spend less every month. The other thing people could do is these nourishing herbal infusions that I talked about earlier in the hour, it's a very frugal way to get a lot of vitamins and minerals into your diet without spending a lot of money. Make your own bone broth, or if you're a vegetarian, veggie broth. Save all of your scraps, throw it in a freezer bag, throw it in your freezer. Then once a week, make your own broth. That's going to be incredibly nourishing, and it's made out of a material that would have been just tossed anyway. So that's essentially free.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
All right, before I want to ask you what you're watching, one thing you want people that are listening to come away with from this conversation to know about herb. I just said herbs.
We're not
Herb's not here.
Herbs. To know about herbs. One thing you could impart that people would take away from this conversation.
Ooh, that's a great question. Yeah, I would say go to the Herb Rally YouTube channel, look up the Nourishing Herbal Infusions class, really get interested, and I would say learn whatever your heart is calling you to learn about one particular plant. I would say just dive deep for a full month, learn everything you can about that plant, start incorporating in your life, drink it as a tea, just start building, as we talked about in the beginning, a relationship with that plant and see what kind of wonders it could do for you and your health.
That's a great answer. This is fun. So all right, so this is what I do on the show, Mason. I ask everybody what they're watching, if they've seen any great movies. When you're not immersing yourself in the healthy world of herbs and doing your 12,000 podcasts, what are you watching on TV? Anything you could recommend or anything binge-worthy?
So we recently, I'm not recommending this, but there's a show that my wife and I just started trying to watch, but it was so intense, I don't know if I can handle it. It's called Your Honor. It's got Bryan Cranston in it, but I watched that because it's the show that I do want to recommend. If you've never seen Breaking Bad.
Oh, sure.
Have you seen that
Yeah.
one? Oh, my goodness. Yeah, it was riveting, great storytelling, and then the spinoff, Better Call Saul, just both incredible series, very well done.
I like Better Call Saul better than I like Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's not quite as gritty, but it's horribly uncomfortable at times. And Bob Odenkirk is such a talent and so great. So did you just find Breaking Bad, or is this something you kind of go back to, or it's just one of your all-time favorite shows?
I'm an incredible with most series, I'm always watching them 10 years after they're popular.
Right.
Like I did that with Dexter as well. And I watched Breaking Bad maybe a year or so ago, but it's top of mind. I am trying to incorporate for my own self-care to allow myself as a workaholic to sit down and binge shows. I think it's incredibly healthy to have this type of entertainment for us. So I'm really trying to watch more shows. So I'd be curious what you recommend, what we should be watching as well.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm so far behind," but you're not, because there's so much content out
So
there.
much
You
good
can't.
stuff.
I just finished Black Doves, which I really liked, with Keira Knightley, and
Never heard of it.
forget the name of the other star. That's actually one of the newer ones I was in on. And I watched about 3 nights ago. I rewatched the pilot of Twin Peaks because David Lynch had just passed away, and it's so weird. But I would give that a look.
Okay.
I didn't watch it much when it was out the first time. I had seen almost all of his movies, but I wasn't a big Twin Peaks fan. But I looked at it with a different eye this time, and I found it really interesting. This is great, man. Thank you. It was great meeting you.
Pete, I really appreciate the opportunity. Shout
Anytime.
out Conrad and JB once again.
We'll
So
give
thanks all
JB
so
some
much.
commission. It's not going to be money, unfortunately, but
I'll buy him a stogie.
We'll give him a shout out. There you go. Mason Hutchinson, thank you very much. I'd like to thank Laura Enright, Greg Leanna, and even Jim Vincent, who popped on very briefly. Thank you for all your texts and calls. Who am I forgetting, Conrad?
Herb.
Well played.
He's going to get maple syrup. Doesn't that what that overcoat looks like? It's
I
so
could
great.
use some new maple syrup. I could use
Who
some.
couldn't? That's
Yeah.
natural. We'll be back
That's right.
tomorrow night, folks, to do it all again with Rob Thomas and Skip Caparis from Major League. That's tomorrow night on Night Light. Thanks for being with us tonight. Thanks for your texts and calls. And on behalf of the lovable producer, Conrad, good night, Wisconsin.
I'll take me to your best friend's house.